Well, good morning, everyone. Today I'm joined by Jeanne, our Associate Vice President for Student Affairs and Dean of Students. And Jeanne, we've been grateful to have your leadership in our community now for 25 years this week, and for all that you've done to support our students and their journeys as members of our community. We're profoundly grateful to you. Could you reflect on your 2.5 decades at Georgetown? Can you share with us a sense of your journey and those experiences that have been touchstones for you?
Absolutely, and thank you so much, President DeJoy. It's a privilege, it's an honor for me, and I could never have imagined 25 years ago that I would be sitting here talking to you today. So this is quite extraordinary. Thank you so much. Yeah, so I started to reflect a bit. I have been reflecting ever since I knew this anniversary was approaching on these last 2.5 decades and what they have meant. And you were kind enough yesterday to come to a bridge course that Reverend Osvig and I teach on vocation and purpose. And so I have often thought to myself that I found my vocation at Georgetown. You may know that I had been a public health nurse, and I had graduated from law school just before coming to Georgetown to work in the Office of Student Conduct, which was a very interesting place to land after that. And never did, I was very, very unfamiliar with what Ignatian spirituality, Jesuit higher education. So this was an introduction to a new and a wonderful world for me. And I will say that, there are so many memories and so many reflections the past 25 years, but probably more than anything, I am grateful for to be a part of a Jesuit institution, a place with Ignatian leadership, a place that you have led with so much courage for so many years. This has been, we talk about the transformative power of education for our students, and this has indeed been transformative in my own life. So deeply grateful for that.
Thank you. You mentioned the bridge course. It was an honor to join you and Reverend Osvig in the bridge course yesterday. Talk a little bit about the bridge course of Reverend Osvig, our former Protestant chapels, now at American University. Tell us about the course. How has this moment shifted how you've approached your teaching? For those who may not be familiar with our bridge courses, can you talk a little bit about what we're hoping for our students, what they walk away from after they've spent some time in one of these courses?
Yeah, I think these are exceptional courses. Randy Bass invited Revo and me to teach vocation and purpose. I think it was about 5 years ago. And we approached this invitation with great enthusiasm, great excitement, a little bit of apprehension. Knowing our students, so many of our students are so focused, pre-professional students, very, I guess driven would be the word I would use to describe some of our students. So how would they respond to something like this, which is an invitation to reflection and a path to discernment at a critical moment, a critical juncture in their lives as students and as young people. And we have been absolutely delighted by the response. It's been, this is a course that's evolved for the two of us. Each semester that we teach, we do it a little differently. And I think that's probably a hallmark. I am not an academic, but I have tried to learn from my faculty colleagues to reimagine, to revisit this, and to do it in a way that is responsive, not only to the needs of the students at this point in their lives, but also, as you suggest, to the larger context. So we thought a great deal about it when we were invited to do this. I think it was in late spring, we got the invitation again. How would we approach this course in the middle of a global pandemic, an experience that none of us could have anticipated and that will forever color our students' lives? And so we thought a bit about this, and one of the joys of doing this with Brian Osvig is that we look at the world through I won't say exactly the same lens, but we have very similar perspectives on many of these issues. We thought about the great women and men we have met, we have heard from while we've been at Georgetown, the people whose lives were a particular note during the last year, the last several months. One of them, of course, John Lewis, the loss of Coach Thompson, people like that. So we thought, we're going to approach this as sort of lives well lived, lives of courage and discernment. And we would devote each of the classes to readings that were related to the life of the particular person, but also conversations about their contributions, their courage, how they in very Ignatian ways, whether they were Jesuit educated or not, or had associations with Jesuit higher education, how they lived lives of Ignatian discernment. And so that's what we have done this semester. And I think our sense from the students is that it has been very meaningful to them. It has elicited very robust conversation, a lot of thinking. They're about to do some writing, which will be interesting to see what they take away from this. So we have done it very intentionally, but as you said the other day, I've been quoting you with sheer joy. It's been a sheer joy for us to do this.
In addition to your role here at Georgetown, you've helped to lead an initiative of the Association of Jesuit Colleges and Universities as director of the AJCU's Ignatian Leadership Institute, now going back to 2014. Could I ask you to talk a little bit about your work with AJCU and this institute?
Oh, I would love to talk about this. Has been a source of great joy. And again, I thank you for your support and encouragement, you and Todd Olson and other people who have encouraged me to continue to do this. So as you said, this is an opportunity to work with our association, the Association of Jesuit Colleges and Universities, to direct a seminar. It was in previous years a seminar. This is a gathering of colleagues from across the United States, the 28 Jesuit colleges and universities. We have gathered in Chicago for the last several years for a week of learning from colleagues, topics of foundational issues in Jesuit higher education. Obviously, we have learned from our leaders, Ignatian Form leaders, and we have also spent a day on how our institutions act in the service of faith and justice. And so these have been rich days for us. In addition to what we have learned from each other, there's been an opportunity to foster, to nurture relationships with each other. So that's been very, very valuable, very exciting. I love the work. It's one of the most rewarding parts of my life.
Oh, it's beautiful. Now, you recently offered a set of reflections in the Jesuit publication, America, on how we can draw on the principles of Ignatian formation and spirituality to inform how we proceed in this moment. Can you share a little bit about your thoughts on this?
Thank you. Thank you for the chance to reflect on that. This had been obviously the whole question of Ignatian formation is a critical one in the work that we do. We are, we have inherited a remarkable legacy, almost 500 years of Jesuit education, and that's quite remarkable, the tradition in the Western world. And one of the foundational pieces, of the critical pieces for this, is forming lay colleagues in the Ignatian charism. We often say that our Jesuit colleagues, as we know well, have extended periods of formation, but now as we see increasingly lay leadership in our institutions, and you, of course, were the first lay president of a Jesuit college or university in the United States, we need to extend that formation to lay colleagues as well. So we looked at it and said, what can we in this moment of crisis, in this moment in which there's very little opportunity provided in our daily lives to reflect, how does Ignatian formation help us to do this work better and to do it more joyfully? So I think we started this article with a quote from Linda Lamura, who said, Jesuit education has survived wars and pandemics, and here we are again. So we saw this as a wonderful opportunity to say, yes, we can do it. And we do it so well because we do it together. Our beloved Howard Gray talked about that, about Ignatian friendship, that companionship and friendship are central to our tradition. And formation is an expression of that, right?
Right. I'd like to ask you about two aspects of your work in student affairs. First, could I ask you to reflect on some of the efforts of you and your colleagues to support our students in this moment? And then I'd ask you if you could focus a little bit on the work of the Women's Center, which you've been especially engaged in over the course of your years here.
It's interesting that you asked posed the question about the work of student affairs and supporting students right now, because I've been in a series of conversations today with colleagues from across the Division of Student Affairs and have been very moved and impressed by not only the scope of the work that's being done in a virtual environment where we're all inventing this, each day, inventing it anew, but also the depth of commitment. If you had asked me a year ago if student affairs could operate in a virtual world, I probably would have laughed. And it is extraordinary to me to see the kinds of connections that have been established with students, with families, and with each other. You know, I was in a conversation a half an hour ago with one colleague who was in Utah, another who was in Florida. And had I not known that, like, we could have all been in the same room. I mean, obviously not entirely, but it's a remarkable ability to connect. And I think some of that is built on the kinds of connections that we in student affairs tend to build with each other. It's a very intimate, it's a very intense kind of work. So I'm in awe of people from the Counseling Center to Student Outreach and Support to the Office of Student Conduct, Center of Student Engagement who've done this work. So it's been rich and rewarding for us.
Great. And tell me a little bit about your work with the Women's Center.
So this is the 30th anniversary of, I don't know what to call it, the founding of the Women's Center, but certainly the Women's Center in, you know, with that title. The founding of the Women's Center preceded my arrival at Georgetown. I came into this work at a time when there was very, very vibrant collaboration from across the campus. Many of our women colleagues on the faculty were deeply, deeply engaged in this work. Leona Fisher, Ellen Henderson, Pam Fox, a lot of people from the English department. And they were, you know, I'd sort of call them the founding mothers of this, and their leadership, their commitment, their mentorship meant a great deal to the students who assumed this work and did it with great energy and great faith that it would bear fruit. So the Women's Center has evolved over the years. It is a place now where we welcome women, men, anyone who wants to come in and support greater inclusion of women, not only in the university community, but in the larger world. Because with all the progress women have made, we know that women still struggle with pay equity. They struggle very poignantly at this moment with balancing professional obligations with family obligations. So there's a lot to be done as a community to support the center.
Sure, and it itself is in some transition now. I had the opportunity recently to speak with Shiva Subbaraman, who is responsible now for the work. And I know it's going through its own evolution at this point.
That's right. That's right. Yes.
Great. Well, I can't thank you enough for taking this time to be with us today. In closing, is there one last message you'd like to leave with our community?
Thank you for that invitation. I want to go back to what I said earlier in our conversation, which is we talk about the transformative power of education. And sometimes I think it's difficult when you're doing the day-to-day work to feel the full impact of that. But as I've been reflecting on this 25th anniversary, I've thought of the many students whom I've encountered during this time, whose lives have truly, the lives of their families have been transformed by the opportunity to come to Georgetown, to have this remarkable education. And that is a great gift to the world. And I am so privileged to have been a part of it in any small way. So I'm grateful for that. I'm excited. I don't know if I'm excited for the next 25, but I'm certainly excited. And I thank you so much.
Well, Jeanne, I can't thank you enough for taking the time today and for all of your contributions over these 25 years this week. You brought so much to our community over this period, and we're so profoundly grateful to you. And I look forward to being with all of you again soon. Take care of yourselves and take care of everyone around you. For every Hoya, everywhere.